In this chapter, we will now be diving into Rwanda-specific topics, starting off with house visits and visiting sponsored children. In the event of a house visit, it may be nice to finally visit your sponsored children and also meet the families. Also having the chance to gift them, especially when you want to show that you love them and you are happy to meet them. Let's not forget, you are still the visitor visiting that foreign country, and you also have to respect their rules. On the other side of it, there are also very specific topics that you just never talk about, but also things that you just do not gift. Some of the things never to give a gift, and this is something that your team leader will go over. You never want to give them undergarments or clothing with bad messages. And last but not least, toy soldiers, especially when it involves firearms and other weaponry. In Rwanda, let's not forget, there was a genocide, and it's a very serious and sensitive subject matter. Whatever you do, just don't be those people who don't respect the rules, and you pay the price for it. But you also never want to ask how the genocide has affected them, family dynamics, unless if it was agreed upon, because family dynamics are always a complicated and also a messy subject. Politics, asking to exchange information. I don't care if it's by Facebook or Instagram, or even just asking for a phone number or email. And also, asking, would you like to come home with me someday? And actually, that was a mistake that I had made when I had done a house visit. If it's not your sponsored child, but you're just being asked to go with somebody else. The first one was pleasant. I just had some company with me, even though I had insisted by saying, I can go by myself and I will take care of it. And they said, no, it's okay, let us go with you. I said, okay, then fine, then let's go together. The little downside was that I was having a little hard time, did not do very great with eye contact, because I was like, this is my child right here, I should be looking at him. But I was also looking at the translator. I was definitely not really very focused at the time. When it's not your sponsored children, just to sit down and listen. But if you are being asked to leave, and especially when there are children outside, the best thing that you can do for them is just give them your love, but also give them your presence, because they want you more than your gifts, which is the biggest thing that I had to remind myself. If it's not your child, I don't care if you are running laps, doing exercise, or if you have brought a soccer ball or a frisbee. It's a way to make fun with the children and still showing that I care. You're not really making any interruptions. You're just going there to make fun with them. Because they want to be touched by hands like this, or they want to hold your hand, or just give you a hug before you get back into the vehicle. Make sure that you wipe yourself with bacteria wipes or sanitizer. Courtesy rule is just make sure you do it when you're inside the bus, not when you are out in front of them, because then they'll get offended. After had COVID-19 happened, now I get very subconscious, even shaking a hand. Or if I was going on a date, and if the girl wants a hug, then okay, sure I will. But I would also just be cautioning you of what kind of contaminants that could be passed around. During my visits with my sponsored children, here's two different stories that had happened. When I visited the boy, it was actually very pleasant. The mistake that I made, though, was when I had asked him, would you like to come home with me? It felt like a movie moment. However, I was being reminded, our team leader is like, oh, by the way, you weren't actually supposed to say that. I know that you meant well, that you weren't supposed to say this or ask those kind of questions. I felt guilty inside, but then I just remind myself, now you know, we just won't go there again and we just won't ask that question. And in the second visit, I was definitely a little bit timid on the side, but I was also being a little bit strict, but trying to also understand the story, because the female stopped going to class and then they were in the process of stopping her sponsorship. And I was trying to encourage and motivate her, if you start going back to class, I will feel better about myself. But if you are choosing not to do so, then just keep in mind that I cannot sponsor you anymore. It felt like a very long visit, but I also had to be conscious of time. You only get so much time when you are doing activities or when you are with your sponsored child. And don't ever ask certain questions, especially when it's a sensitive subject, unless if you yourself and your sponsored children have agreed that yes, it is okay that we could talk about this because we are consenting this ahead of time. How would you feel if someone walked up to you and you never met them and it just kind of throws you off, uncomfortable, and you probably would just very much resent that person afterwards? On the other side of the story, let's think of it like this. Being very cautious and sensitive, even though it's not easy to be sensitive for everybody else, but it's the things that you can think about because it's common sense. I would also be advising you to talk with your team leader and asking detailed questions of what are the things that you can come up with so you don't accidentally make someone upset. Callan, can you give us a little bit of your side of the story of what your house visits was like and what's the things that you learned?
My daughter and I got to visit our sponsored children in Rwanda, and it was a wonderful experience, especially to share together. We spent a lot of time thinking about what we were going to say to the families, and we brought gifts that we had thought through very well. What was a surprise is that we visited many families, and so when we were at the home, a family that we weren't sponsoring, someone else was, and they were doing their visit, we were amazed at the crowd that came to see us going from house to house. You're going to draw a crowd wherever you go, and that was the part we weren't as prepared for. What I found that was really helpful, an easy thing to bring that is a hit all the time when you're outside in the village, just playing with the kids that are gathered around, bringing empty soccer balls. You can pack a bunch, you don't have to be expensive ones, empty soccer balls and a pump. And at each house that you stop at, you'll be amazed at the draw that that has for the kids there. They will all be showing off their soccer skills, but they loved the fact that we were there to interact with them. That was a huge part of the experience that I just wasn't ready for, is the connection that you made, not just to the families of the kids you sponsor, but to all those in the village. They were just really loving and welcoming, and we're just so excited that we were there. So that's my big recommendation. Deflated soccer balls. They're going to be a huge hit. Also, frisbees are a lot of fun because as good as they are at soccer, that's how bad they are at frisbee. They love making fun of each other. It's the one thing that you might be better than them at, but they love taking on the challenge and throwing that frisbee around. So those are two recommendations: empty soccer balls, pump, and frisbees. You're going to have a great time.